From the Chatterbox Sports Studio in Hamilton, Ohio, this is Not Too Picky with Paul Fritchner.
I like that. Get a good look at the studio there. Great shot to open it here, Casey. Paul Fritchner with you. Casey McAllister over there. Brandon Sejo, as always. And we're going to have Reed Mouse back here in studio in the third segment of the show. It was an okay weekend. It wasn't a great weekend. It was an okay weekend. Casey McAllister had a great weekend again. We're going to talk more about that when we get Reed Mouse in here later on in the third segment. Casey might be the best gambler right now, the hottest gambler of anybody on this show, and we haven't even been promoting your picks because you've been doing it on your other show that you produce here in the morning with Tom. You've been winning at a 62% clip, and that's even including the games that you've had to pick for his Ohio Bobcats. So congrats, first of all, for the run that you've had over the first month of that show, because you've been hitting pretty well.
Well, I will say this, that Brandon and I were actually tied until this week.
I had a bad college football run.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bad?
But
0-5.
Oh, that's not great.
and I went 1-4 for college. But my bread and butter is NFL, and I managed to get what?
I think you went 4-1.
4-1 in the NFL.
All right, Casey. Congratulations.
Yeah.
You got it this weekend.
I got it this
You got
weekend.
it this weekend. You know who else did since our last show is the Cincinnati Bengals. We gave out the Bengals minus 4.5, depending on where you had it, or 3.5, I think, was where it eventually settled. The guest pick, Dead Prez Picks, he had -3. He brought down that half point. We gave out -3.5. That was where it settled, really, was 3.5. And that hit. It was looking close at a couple of points in the game where the Bengals kicked a field goal. They were up 1. They were losing going into the fourth quarter. They kick a field goal. They go up 1, and now you're thinking to yourself, oh no, it's that dangerous spot where you're happy as a Bengals fan that the Bengals are going to win, but they don't cover, and it was almost a disaster situation there at the end. But the Bengals able to put it away. A couple of late scores to cover that one. So the guest streak is now at 3. Have a push thrown in there. Only 1 loss so far from our guests, and that was back in the very first show. And the YouTube chat, that streak is at 3 too. So if you're listening right now, if you're watching, put some picks in the chat. We'll pick the best pick that we think at the end of the show is the best pick out of the YouTube chat, which again, the streak right now is at 3. So the chat is hot. The guests are hot. You know who's not hot is the Cincinnati Reds. They need to win all 3 games this week to avoid losing 100 games, a historic franchise that just doesn't happen a lot. I think they've only lost 100 games one time in franchise history. Is that right, Brandon?
Yes, and if they lose out, it would be the worst season loss-wise and winning percentage-wise in franchise history.
Yeah, so not a very good showing from the Reds here this year. I don't need to dive too deep into that. We all know that. Everybody listening to this show knows that. And the Reds will see their season end before we have another show. The season will be over by the time we go live on Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock, and that's just how it's going to have to be because the Reds, it's over. It's over, and we'll see if they can sweep the Chicago Cubs this week to finally avoid losing 100 games. But if they lose 1, that's the century mark for the Reds this week. I don't have any picks for you myself on the Reds this week. I think Reed and I might have a couple of things that we might look at later in the show on the Reds, but tough one. And another tough one, too, FC Cincinnati. A poor showing from FC Cincinnati on Saturday night trying to lock up a playoff spot. FC Cincinnati now has to wait till next week to try and lock up a spot against DC United in their final regular season match. That'll be on decision day next Sunday. Brandon?
The lads on the pitch in their orange and blue kits.
Yes.
That's what I got for you. That's my football terminology.
That's your FC Cincinnati segment?
Yeah, there's 11 on the pitch, the starting 11.
There you go.
It's a goalkeeper, not a goalie, right?
It's a keeper.
It's a keeper, yeah.
It's a keeper.
All right, just making sure I got it all right.
It's a keeper. Yeah, so FC Cincinnati next Sunday in the afternoon going to be going for their playoff spot and a win, and they're in. Right,
Yeah,
Casey?
I was really hoping that they would win, clinch that spot. It would mean a lot to just the FC community in general, but I think they get it done. I really do.
So let's run through the recaps here before we get to Monday Misery. Let's run through. I gave out Air Force team total over 26.5. They scored a touchdown like 2 minutes into the game. I thought that was going to look great. All of a sudden, I checked my phone a couple hours later. I wasn't able to watch the games over the course of early Saturday afternoon, a bunch of those games. Air Force didn't do anything, really, the rest of the game offensively. I got cute with it. If it's a Service Academy under – or a Service Academy game, you just take the under. You don't question it. You just take the under. I got cute with it. I took the team total. Should have just taken the under because it hit again. TCU plus 6.5 hit by a long shot. The money line hit. TCU hit. Everything for TCU hit. College game day is going to Kansas this week. Kansas and TCU for college game day this Saturday. TCU's a wagon. Kansas might be a wagon. Kentucky plus 7. That hit. Frankly, Kentucky should have won that game. I don't think Kentucky played well at all. When I had to go back and look at that game later, too. Kentucky left a field goal on the field. They left an extra point on the field. They scored the go-ahead touchdown with under a minute to play in the game, but a penalty brought that back. Kentucky did not play a very good game and still put themselves in a chance to win on the road. Mark Stoops still can't win against the SEC West, but who cares? They covered. Miami of Ohio, another brutal beat. I know Kentucky and TCU both hit, but Miami, a brutal beat. They were covering because that line ended up closing, I think, at 3. And then they committed a penalty, and that penalty wiped off the Buffalo field goal that would have probably sent the game to overtime and given Miami a chance to win the game outright. But I think it was an offsides that allowed Buffalo a first down. They ended up scoring a touchdown, and Buffalo covers in that one. Ohio State and Rutgers, that went over, but we'll talk more about Ohio State and Rutgers in Monday Misery here in a second. But that did go over in that game. I had over 58.5. That went over. And then NC State plus 7. That was a loser on Saturday night in a big way. Clemson in a rout at home. Ole Miss minus 7 for Reed did not hit. Alabama minus 17. That was close, but it ended up hitting. And Texas A&M was not even close as well. Mike went 1 for 2 on his NASCAR picks. One of his top 10s hit. One of them didn't. Maryland also covered, but he had Miami with me, and that didn't. So, Casey, do we have the music this week?
We do have the music.
Cue the music, Casey.
Wow. This is serious.
It's Monday Misery.
It's Monday Misery.
It's Monday Misery.
We ready for the...
All right, bring it up. Look at this. What an absolute disaster this is. So, Joe Mixon to score the first touchdown of the game. Chase Edmonds to score the second touchdown of the game. And T. Higgins to score the third touchdown of the game. Now, this is one of those tickets that you look at and you say to yourself, is this even real? Is this a ticket that even exists? I went through the replies on Twitter and I tried to make sure that it was real. I'm pretty sure it was real, and even if it was fake, I'm choosing to believe that it was real. I'm almost 100% sure that it was real. Mixon scores the first touchdown of the game. You can cut the music if you want, and you can play this disaster of a second would-be touchdown. Play it right here, Casey. Look at this. Tua and the Dolphins offense lining up on 3rd and 4 from the 5-yard line. Here goes Edmonds into the end zone, and it just slips right through his fingers.
That probably should have been a touchdown. Probably.
Casey?
Yes.
That shouldn't probably have been a touchdown. That was a – look at this.
Oh,
That's a
my
gift.
gosh, that's a gift.
That is a gift of a touchdown. Right through his fingers.
Poor guy. But who day?
Who day? Yeah, you're right. Edmonds lets that one slip through his fingers, and I think that was a plus 60,000 ticket.
Yeah,
I think that ticket was plus 60,000. Am I reading that right? 60. It's not 600,000. That's 60,000.
That's 60,000.
Plus 60,000 because T. Higgins ended up scoring the third touchdown of the game. Brutal beat. And I saw one ticket that had just the first two, that Mixon scored the first touchdown and Edmonds scored the second. And that same way, brutal. In fact, that one might have even been worse because I would argue you could do the whole thing where you say, well, if he scores that touchdown, does T the whole game plays out differently? Does T end up scoring the third touchdown? You go back and do the revisionist history. I'd almost say that Mixon to score the first and Edmonds to score the second, that might be worse. Do we have Charlie on?
I haven't had a time to speak with him yet, but he is joined in. So.
Charlie, are you there? Can you hear me?
I'm here. I can hear you loud and clear. What's going on, man?
Let's go. Charlie Walter, Cincinnati native out there in the Bay Area, bringing you on. We got to talk some Monday Night Football. I got Brandon Seho over here. Brandon is on the show. I don't know if you can see Brandon. And
Let's go, Chuck. Chuck's back.
How you feeling, man? Good to hear from you. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. I was telling him about our Alabama drinking days a few years ago.
Once, but yes, it was quite night in Auburn, Alabama.
Well, Charlie, how are you, man? Good to see you.
I'm good. How are you? Just soaking in some Rays right now, getting ready for some Monday Night Football. The wife's inside sleeping in late, so I couldn't use the studio, so this will have to work.
Yeah, well, hey, it looks great. You got the blue sky overhead looking nice out there, and you're in San Francisco. It's the 49ers, and it's the Rams tonight for Monday Night Football. It's a close one. You are a gambling guy. I was looking at my potential guest list here for the week, and I was going through. I have somebody from Baltimore joining us for Thursday's show, preview the Ravens and the Bengals for Sunday. And I thought, oh, man, I got somebody on speed dial here. I got Charlie I can dial up. He's a gambling guy. He's a news guy. He's a sports guy. So let's get your take. Let's hear your thoughts. What do the people need to look at tonight for a slim Rams or a slim 49ers favorite tonight? They're at -1.5 right now.
It opened at -2.5, and immediately the first thing I thought was, well, that's a smelly line. You would think that the Rams would be favored after what the 49ers have done against the Bears and the Denver Broncos last week. Yeah, sure, they beat the Seattle Seahawks. Sorry, I live near the airport, so planes are flying overhead right now. But 49ers defense is really good. And it's as simple as that. 49ers defense is incredible, one of the best in the NFL, and it's going to give them a chance to win every game they're in. I don't like to be a revisionist and look back at the past, but the Niners have won 6 of 7 against Sean McVay. The only time they lost was that NFC Championship game last year where they blew a 10-point lead. So in recent years, they've matched up really well against them. Deebo Samuel just cooks against this team nonstop. So if you're looking at prop bets, whatever Deebo Samuel is, take the over. Why not? Been able to get it going. Jimmy Garoppolo was not good whatsoever after the game. I don't want to say blame. He didn't put blame on it, but he did point to the fact that he didn't go through OTAs and was on the side field during training camp. Didn't necessarily know the playbook, even though he's been here for quite some time under the same regime. So this seems like the ultimate bounce back game. A Monday Night Football game at home like they had last year when they sat in a 3-5 spot, and it looked like their season was coming off the tracks. They bounced back, beat the Rams by 21, and I expect them tonight to come out and win, cover that 2.5-point spread.
I like that. That's what I'm thinking too, Charlie. And you got to feel like that NFC Championship game is probably on a lot of these guys' minds, right?
Oh, you would have to think it's on their minds. They actually brought it up. Jimmy Ward, who's not going to be playing in the game tonight, was asked about it before the season and said, we're not friends. We don't like them. In between these lines, it's all business right now. Another thing I want you guys to look at tonight, if you are taking some cheddar on this game, look at the point total. I want to say that it's around the low 40s right now, which may be a little too high. Niners right now are 3-0 in covering the unders. They haven't even been close. The defense is just so good. I think you keep riding the unders until it proves you're wrong. But again, you know, the Bellagio wasn't built on everyone winning their bets every weekend. So you would have to imagine that everyone's seen that trend and they're saying, you know, I'm going to ride the under until the 49ers prove that they can score some points / opponents can score some points on them.
Yeah, in the first 3 weeks, the 49ers games have gone 29, 34, and 21 points. And right now, the total for tonight is at 42.5. They have not really come close to the 40s so far yet this season. So you do make a good point there, especially with the defensive talent on both sides here. You look at the Niners, you look at the Rams, both teams pretty talented defensively. You'd say that between offense and defense, you're gonna hang your hat on defense on both sides for these teams. middle of the road offenses too. It's not like either one of these teams have that high-powered, high-scoring offense. So you're going to see put up a ton of points. Maybe if you find yourself down by a lot and you're in danger zone, you got to start airing it out there. But to me, Charlie, it just hasn't felt like the Rams have been themselves this year, or maybe what we expected. You're starting to see the Rams have some flaws to me exposed this year that aren't really indicative of a defending Super Bowl champion, and maybe that's just due to a bit of a hangover or just some of the things that they've done so far this year. But I don't look at this Rams team as this invincible Matt Stafford, Aaron Donald-led squad that should be favored in every game they play, and clearly Vegas agrees that they're the underdog going on the road here tonight.
And that's why I was a little confused when I originally saw 63% of the public taking the Rams. I thought to myself, all right, well, the Rams seems like the play here. I did a little deeper dive into the offense. They're not top 15 in really any statistic right now. Their offensive line isn't good. The 49ers defensive line's incredible. Eric Armstead, who missed the last game, should be back for the 49ers. So I expect, the prop bets to look at in this one, Nick Bosa has already had a sack in every game this season. If you can find him at over under, a half a sack, if you can find that line on your book, I would definitely touch it. And it's going to come down to who wins the battle of the trenches to me. 49ers don't have a great offensive line. It's young. Colt McKivitz is going to be the left tackle. The West Virginia Mountaineer alum is going to be stepping in there for Trent Williams. And obviously Trent Williams is one of the best players in the NFL. So now that he's not in there protecting Jimmy Garoppolo's blind side, you just don't know. McKivitz could step up and have a really good game, but you don't know. So between the 49ers defensive line going up against the makeshift Costco brand 49ers offensive and vice versa with the 49ers stout defensive line going up against the Rams great value brand offensive line. That's going to be the matchup to watch in this one. I think the winner of the battle of the trenches wins this game. I'm just wondering how the 49ers are going to score points because they have talent on the offensive side of the ball. George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. That's three guys that should get near 1,000 yards this season. It just hasn't looked like any of them are even going to get close. Running the ball has been the 49ers' forte in years past. Elijah Mitchell got hurt in that Chicago game in the first half after he was really rolling downfield to begin the season. Jeff Wilson Jr. stepped in there. He's looked good when he's touched the ball, but Kyle Shanahan kind of averted away from the run in the second half of that Broncos game. So we'll see. But like you said, yes, at first glance, the Rams are getting 2.5 points against the Niners, who look terrible out of the gate. Give me the Rams. They haven't looked good either.
And, it's funny when you look at the championship odds for the 49ers and how they dropped after Jimmy G got installed there as the starting quarterback because of Trey Lance's injury. The odds got shorter for the 49ers to win the Super Bowl after Jimmy G takes back over. And you're essentially getting Jimmy G here, an experienced quarterback for the rest of the season, somebody that, quite honestly, I know 49ers fans don't want to hear it, but should have been playing in the Super Bowl last year. They're a dropped interception away from playing for a championship last year. And now all of a sudden you're turning around and you're playing a team in week 4. Or are we in week 3? We're in week 4. What week are we in? What week are we in here, fellas? 5, 4, 3? We're in week 4. But I'm getting my college football and my NFL weeks all mixed up. But you're in week 4 of the season. You're still, you're after this week, you'll be a quarter of the way through the year. And it's just real interesting to me to see a line like this at 1.5 or now 2. Actually, as we're doing this show, it's moved back to 2. The 49ers a 2-point favorite. But yeah, it just
here come the Sharks. They're on the Niners. That money.
Yeah, the way the line is moved, the way it opened, the way it's moved, and the total being at 42, it just tells you that it's going to be this kind of grinded out, low-scoring game. Like you said, the 49ers love to run the ball. That's indicative of an under where you're just going to chew time off the clock. And if you and I are sitting here asking ourselves how are they going to score points, then you're probably looking at the under. No, it doesn't take a lot to figure that one out. But if you're doing this ground and pound type game between the Rams and the 49ers, you're probably taking a home favorite.
I think I'm honestly fading all my logic today and going with the over just because of the fact that it's got to hit eventually, right? They've lowered the total a bit to 42 now. I just think, look, everyone's going to be touching the under in this game. And I was actually on the over last week in the Broncos game thinking, all right, Russell Wilson usually destroys this team. He's going to get some early touchdowns, and the 49ers will have to play catch up. I'm thinking that's what happens this week. I like the Niners in this one, 23-20 with the over hitting. I think they win by a field goal. I think they just match up better. I really do. I think they've been built to beat this Rams team in years past. Rams haven't come into Levi's Stadium and taken them down since 2017. And I know that means nothing, but it does mean something when you have a team's number. You saw it with Russell Wilson last week, quarterbacking the Broncos. New team, same results against the 49ers. I think he's now 18-4 against San Francisco. So sometimes when you have a team's number, you just have their number. Look at the Pittsburgh Steelers against Cincy. They haven't had any issues with. So look at Xavier against Cincinnati. Sometimes you just go with the betting trends and take the numbers, even if it's not the play you necessarily like. So I'd be leaning towards the under, but I'm going to hit the over for that reason, and I actually do think it hits. That 23-20, quote me on it. That's a good final score prediction. That's a good final score prediction.
23-20. We can get some decent odds on 23-20. If you want to take that one right now, Niners 23-20. That'll pay you. Let me see if I can find it. 24-20 is plus 7,000, but that's not our 23-20. Yeah. So if you want to lay a little bit down on that, 23-20 for the Niners to beat the Rams plus 6,000. That's a nice little payday.
That is a nice payday. A big Texas cinnamon roll is about $5 in California with inflation, right? So I may take away that big Texas out of my diet, throw the $5 down on 23-20, and what's that net me? That nets me something.
$5 gets you 300 back.
Wow. Okay, we'll do that.
All right. Okay, Charlie, one more thing here. Have you been able to watch the Bengals at all? Got any Bengals thoughts you need to get off your chest?
So I was down in Chicago checking out the game at Soldier Field, 49ers and Bears during the Steelers game. So I was game casting that game. Was in the locker room actually interviewing the guys, interviewing Kyle Juszczyk as I'm kind of looking at my phone. I'm giving my question, he's giving his answer. I'm kind of looking down at my phone. I'm like, all right, Bengals, extra point to win it. Next question, look down again. I'm like, what? Overtime. So I've been kind of a GameCast hero this season just because of working all these games on Sundays, whereas in recent years I've been in college football markets and I've had Sundays off to hang out, but not right now. I did get to watch the football game against the Dolphins on Monday and looked like the same old Bengals. I'm not too worried about them.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so before I let you leave, my guests are on I want to say three pick winning streak right now. So you can pick anything that you've already talked about, or if there's any other pick, it doesn't have to be the 49ers game. If it is the 49ers game and it's something we've talked about, you can pick that. But you give me one winner that I can throw on a graphic to say is my guest pick of the day. And like I said, I got 3 in a row, so it's a streak right now. Can we keep it going?
One winner.
You can take the over if you want. It can be something you've already given me. But I need a winner.
I'm gonna go with Cooper Kupp's over on yards. I don't think the 49ers have and it's probably around 100, I would imagine. I don't think the 49ers really have a good slot cover corner. They've been shifting through Samuel Womack and Diamador Lenore. It's actually a pretty good secondary for the 49ers. But that's really the one position where I would say they lack a little bit of depth. So
it's over. It's over 93.5 right now. You like that?
93.5. Give me that over.
All right, Cooper Kupp over 93.5. You're locking it in. Lock it in.
Lock it in.
Charlie Walter.
I think he gets his. I think the 49ers and Rams get their points. It's the over minus 2.5. 23-20 final score. If all those hit, I got to be on again next week.
We're having you back on Thursday to hash it back out. Let's do it.
Sounds good, fella.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Charlie, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, see ya. All right, well, that's 3 picks there for you from Charlie. So we got Cooper Kupp over 93.5 receiving yards. We have the over barely by half a point, the over, and the Niners to cover. So we're going to step away. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, it'll be Reed Mouse to finish off the show. Stay right here on Not Too Picky.
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time, and if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Sweeney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Sweeney, the original used car superstore.
Back now on Not Too Picky, Paul Fritschner alongside Reed Mouse. And Reed, we sort of got after it this weekend. Not like great, but we sort of did.
Got after my bank account, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it was not a good weekend for me.
No. You've had better weekends.
No, I mean, I think every time I bet it's been better than this past week, and I hope your buddy who fades me is Chris is his name.
Chris,
right?
yeah.
Chris
he
is the
made a
arch enemy.
fortune this weekend.
Oh my God, he killed it. I mean, he could retire early.
Yeah. The one that we got to talk about a little bit that I was on an island about was Kentucky and Ole Miss.
Yeah, that was bad. So, talking with Trace about it, we have this system that I personally created that he follows and he's a big supporter of. It was favoring Ole Miss heavy. I mean, he put a lot of money on it, and I did. The past couple weeks, I put a lot of money on Ole Miss to do that. I started watching in the second quarter. And that's about when things went haywire.
Okay, so here, let me ask you this: at what point in the system? Because you and Trace have tried to talk to me about this, and I've started to look at it more and more over the last month and a half or so that I've been here. And
yeah,
you look at games that stick out, and this one, it's pinging off every red light and all the sirens, everything going off of things that you guys look for when you want to put a major bet in on a game. But do you ever look at it and you think to yourself, like in a baseball game where you have all the analytics and everything pointing you in one direction, and then you think to yourself, maybe there's like one little human element to this that you just got to sort of look at the game and say to yourself, Kentucky probably should have won that game outright.
No, Kentucky did. Like they played better. We're having this texting conversation with our boss Trace, and he's like, "Man, Ole Miss really should have won this." And I'm watching the game. I'm like, UK. He was talking about how Ole Miss should have covered easily, and I'm watching this game. I'm like, I think UK should have won this game.
Kentucky
I thought they played better.
Missed a field goal. They missed an extra point.
Left 5 points out on the board at least.
And then at the very end of the game, with a minute left or under a minute left, they score the game-winning touchdown. But then it gets called back for a penalty, and they can't end up finishing it off anyway.
They fumbled twice in the red zone.
Yeah,
their last 2 drives.
Yeah. So Kentucky had plenty of chances on the road for Mark Stoops to finally get a win over the SEC West. Still can't do it. Looking around the rest of it, I already talked about a couple of the other picks. Your A&M pick, that was a tough one. Bama though.
Bama was
they
weird.
tried real hard to blow that cover.
Well,
they tried real hard.
You bet it, and then you watch the first half, and you're like, all right, this is a gimme. We talk all the time about when you're gambling how much, at least it is for your heart watching a game, how much better football is compared to basketball, because basketball, you got to stay locked in the entire game because it can fluctuate so fast, can happen so fast. But at the second quarter of a football game, you have an understanding if you're going to win or if you're way out of it, or at least if you're like, all right, I feel pretty confident about this. And you're watching Bama just dismantle Arkansas in that first half, and you're just sitting there going, man, like this is money in the
with
bag.
a backup quarterback too.
Right, like you're already counting money in your pocket because you think you won the bet.
You've already paid the bar tab. You've already bought the free drinks.
You turn off the game.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you keep getting the score alerts, and you're like, no way this is happening.
Yeah.
No way this is happening. No way this is happening. And then Alabama ended up covering.
It was close.
Maybe shouldn't have.
No,
maybe shouldn't have.
That Arkansas wide receiver got out in the flat on the right side of the field, had the entire field to work with, and somehow still didn't make it to the line to gain. I didn't take this game, so I didn't really care, but I wanted you to win. As a show, even though I didn't take the game.
Well, it's because you're a good friend.
I want the success of the show, and you at least got on the board. But, one thing that we got to talk about, our guy Casey over here is
he's on fire.
62%.
Kids on fire. I mean, that's who I personally go for picks sometimes. I ask Casey if he likes this.
Between college and the NFL. If you were betting $100 on every game that Casey has bet so far this year, including his mandatory OU pick every week, if you throw that out, it'd be even better, because that's probably four throwaway L's if you didn't have to pick that game. But he's up 100. Well, if he was putting $100 on all of his picks, $810.
Oh my gosh, that's like the first
less than a
mortgage
month.
payment. That's
boom.
Yeah.
Right, there you go.
I'm making people money if you follow me. Okay.
That's who I ask for every time I make a gamble. When I place a bet.
When you make a gamble.
When I make a gamble.
When you make a gamble.
When you're playing the market, right?
Right.
Playing the market. All right, so let's play the market for tonight. You have some picks.
Oh, before we get one more thing I want to talk about the Ole Miss game.
Oh yeah.
And this is so funny about gambling, is when you're watching a game, once you gamble, all authenticity of just watching a football game is thrown out the window. So you're watching this Ole Miss UK game, and you're just rooting for Ole Miss to cover the entire time. You want Ole Miss score every single drive, but then you get in crunch time, and you start creating all these scenarios in which you can cover 6.5.
Yeah.
So Ole Miss is up. They're on the goal line, getting ready to score to get in the green. Go ahead. They don't do it. So then you start rooting for UK to go down and kick a field goal so the game is tied, because if Ole Miss gets the ball back, they're just going to run the clock out and the game's over. So now you got to be hoping that this game just goes into overtime. So for the first 3.5 quarters of the game, you're rooting on Ole Miss to do everything right. And then all of a sudden you're like, all right, UK, you got to turn it on, but you can't do too good. Like, you can't score a touchdown, because then that ruins everything. You just got to kick a field goal, and that's all you need. And that's why those 2 fumbles were gut punches.
Yeah.
For the cover, because both times they were in field goal territory, and I think it was 3rd down on both of the plays. And if he just goes down, kick the field goal, and you have a chance.
You have a chance at least.
Have a chance.
Well, it's the same situation where you get into overtime, and you have one team at like 9.5 in overtime, and you're like, okay, well, if they score a touchdown and then they get a pick 6, like, I'm still in this. I'm not dead yet. And all your friends are forcing you to leave. Like, hey, let's just go out. This game's over, man. Like, you're done. It's not just like, hey, no, if this guy throws a pick 6, we're still good here. You're just hanging on to a thread.
Is there anything worse than in the NFL, because of their overtime rules, you having 6.5?
Oh,
and then it goes into OT.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're the dog at 6.5, it goes to OT. The bet's won. It's done. It's over.
It's over.
And instead, you're sitting there wondering, just like, come on. I mean, I'm
I remember there was a college basketball game I had last year, and the team that I was on was down like 25 points in the first, 10 or 15 minutes of the game. Like, just got down bad. I think the other team went on like an 18-0 run to start the game, something crazy like that. Got down bad, and I was there with a couple of friends, and I'm sitting there going, well, if they get it to like 16 by the under 16 timeout, like, you could chip away at this and maybe have a shot. And then no, dude, it's over.
Right.
It's over, man.
Just give it up.
It's
give
over.
It up. It's your brain just not wanting to get rid of that money.
No. And I'm not one to ever concede a bet early. Like, my bet is never dead until the clock hits 000. Like, I'm finding a way, or unless it's like the overtime thing, unless you find a way for me to literally not lose the bet, I'm going to talk myself into winning every single bet that I place.
No, I'm the exact same way. I think last week it was Wake Forest Clemson, and I had Wake Forest plus 7.5, and they go to OT, and you know, in your mind you're like, I think I won. Like, I think there's like a 99.9% chance I win this, but then you start doing it the opposite way, like, oh man, what if Clemson just randomly goes for 2 to put it out of distance from Wake Forest or something like that. But it is funny. I mean, you just all preconceived notions of watching sports that you did for 20 years before you gamble is thrown out the window because you're just putting every possible scenario in your mind on how you can hit a bet.
Do you care who wins games?
Very rarely.
Very rarely.
Very rarely.
Yeah.
The teams I root for, of course.
Well, you know what's funny is my dad went to Kentucky, so I don't watch every Kentucky game. I'm not like a diehard, Big Blue Nation type guy, but like I generally will follow and keep up with Kentucky. And I was driving home from the football game that I was calling on Saturday afternoon, and I was looking at the Kentucky score and I was trying to catch up on what was going on. And I was sitting there to myself feeling so good about hitting that plus 7. Mm-hmm. The whole time I'm thinking, can I get home? And I'm like talking to my dad about it. I'm like, Kentucky. And then I'm like, wait, they lost the game. Yeah. They covered, but they lost the game.
Right. You completely forget.
And I'm like, oh yeah, sorry, Dad.
It feels weird.
Yeah. I only got to see him for a minute on Saturday and to talk about it for just a second, and we were going on about it, and I'm saying to myself, wait a second, they didn't even win. I'm just happy that they covered 7 points.
No, that's what. And then last night,
it really rewires your brain.
It does.
Yeah.
So last night, I'm sitting down. I'm gonna watch Sunday Night Football. I'm like, man. After the night I had Saturday, I was skittish all day Sunday to bet. So Saturday I have a bad day. Sunday I don't want to bet at all. And then all of a sudden I'm like, all right, I'm going to sit down and watch Sunday Night Football. So I text every group chat that talks about gambling that I'm in.
Yeah.
And I say, guys, 2 great quarterbacks today. Let's just take the over. I'm trying to get disciples, right? I'm trying to get everyone just get a little mojo going in the right way. Keep going the right way. And I don't think you got in on the over. I don't think anybody from the Chatterbox got in.
Just on the record, I would have if I was not already at a concert.
Hindsight's pretty good.
Well, I was at a concert.
Right. But, I'm just sitting here like, I don't care who wins this either way. I don't care if Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, and I'm a huge fan of both those quarterbacks. You know what I just want to do? I want to sit down, watch them, just be brilliant. And the over was 47, and they had 45 points in the first half, and you feel really good about it. And then you're just like, all right, there you
go. Yeah. So now we have to turn the page,
all right.
And we have there's no better way to turn the page than to just, make some bets.
All right, so tonight, not the Monday Night Football game, baseball.
Oh, no,
man, you're talking about the Reds. There's one series left. The
Cubbies, my language.
My Cubbies come to town, and I think I'm 0 for on baseball bets on this show since I started.
I think you've only made one.
No, I'm 0 for.
In your defense. It did not hit. No, but it's not like you're like 0 for 10.
If I hit it, I'd say I'm undefeated. So it plays both ways. You know what? Hunter Green's on the bump for the Reds. And as a Cubs fan and as just a hater a little bit of the Reds, I like to tease people, and I think Hunter Green's terrible. I know he's got some talent. He's pitched really well the last 3 starts. I think I have him down 23 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 29 Ks.
But he's terrible.
And you want to know the correlation between all 3 of those games? The Reds lost all of them.
Yeah. What hurts is I can't even fault the logic there.
Right. And I think the Reds have only won 1 game that Hunter Green has started since the beginning of June.
It's funny you say that because we always look at like quarterback wins,
yeah.
And how irrelevant that stat is, or pitchers wins and losses, and how completely irrelevant that stat is. But in the back of your head as a human being, when you look at a quarterback and you say, like, obviously wins and losses to some degree.
No,
if your quarterback loses every single game that they play.
No, so there's a mentality that people, when a quarterback's under center or, You know, you got a pitcher on the mound. You just sometimes play a little different. You've been around baseball enough. Like when there's a pitcher that works up and quick, you know, they just play a little different, a little faster. And for whatever reason, the Reds just do not win when Hunter Green's on the bump. Although of his 4 wins, he's got a 4-13 record this year. Of his 4 wins, I think 2 of them are against the Cubs.
Oh.
So we're going
Bodes
against
well.
this. But you know what? I'm going to take the Cubs money line. They're winners of 11 of the last 12.
Okay.
Facing off against Hunter Green. And I think more importantly, if the Cubs sweep this series, the Reds will have their worst season in franchise history. And the Cubs, if you had a ticket on their over/under for wins for the season, it hits.
Do they have to win all 3?
They got to win all 3. They got to
Okay.
get 75.5 was the line. They're at 73 wins.
Okay, so Hayden Wesneski, AA legend last year from the Eastern League, pitching for the Cubs.
He's pitched really well too.
They are plus 105.
Yeah, take that money line.
Okay.
Run with it. And I'm just telling you, that's
all right.
that's
Cubs money line tonight, 640 against the Reds at home here at Great American Ballpark. 3 games left for the Reds. Got to win all 3 to avoid 100 losses. Don't think that happens.
So we're gonna move into Monday Night Football.
I think we're going to move into Monday Night
All
Football.
right.
All right.
Let's get on it.
Throw the graphic up there, Brandon. Monday Night Football, Rams at 49ers. The graphic is listed at 49ers minus 1.5. As this show has been going on, it has moved. It is now at the 49ers minus 2. The total's 42.5. That hasn't moved. Rams 2-1, 49ers 1-2. I think the 49ers get this done at home. I think they cover the 2. You're giving me those eyebrows. Do you think the same thing?
I think the same thing. And I've been talking to people. I was like, someone talk me off the 49ers not covering this game. You know, I think part of it is because I saw the Rams early in the year. I think, was that the first game of the year against the Bills? And they looked terrible.
Terrible.
Against the Bills, though, who, you know, I know they've lost a game and almost lost this past Sunday, but they still seem like probably the best team in the league.
Yep.
But they looked absolutely terrible, and I haven't seen the Rams since. And then Kyle Shanahan kind of owns Sean McVay. Jimmy G just seems to be a winner at times. I did see a stat that the 49ers under Kyle Shanahan, when they are favorites on primetime, they're like 3-14 or something like that.
Oh.
So that's not good.
But they have those 3 wins in there, so
Right.
you got to win at some
But that
point.
being said, I think he's like 6-1 against Sean McVay over the last like 7 times they've played.
Yep. Okay, so we're both taking the 49ers at minus 2. I like them at anything under a field goal, even if it gets back up to 2.5, which is I think where it open.
We got to ask Casey. What are you
Casey,
feeling?
what's your lean?
What am I feeling?
Yes.
I mean, I really do like that. First off, I really like what Charlie said. The 20-23
23-20.
score. Yeah, 23-20. I'm sorry, 23-20 score, which would
That's a fun
first be over on the score. I think the 23 goes to San Francisco, 23-20. So I think you could hit on a lot of different things here. I think you could hit 1, money line, 49ers. 2, 49ers cover the spread. 3, the over. I'm putting it all on the line right now. I'm making those 3 bets.
So you're taking 49ers to cover is what you're telling me.
He loved Charlie Walter.
He did
I
like
love what he had to
Charlie
say.
Walter.
Love what he had to say.
He was speaking his language.
He was speaking my language.
Sejo, I heard you had a bad week gambling over the weekend.
You getting back with this one?
It was tough. I'm not going to gamble any pies to the face or ice blocks to the face.
Come on.
That'd be bad. That was
not be great.
That was a losing effort.
Yeah, not great, Bob. I'll take the Rams to be different.
Okay.
I feel even better. I feel even better about the 49ers. I mean, that's a lock.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with the 49ers here under a field goal. I think that's a good one. And
You guys take a cinder block to the face, if I'm right. Is it just to be
cinder
fair
block?
for? Yeah, that was
Maybe
what that pie
a
was.
foam cinder block, maybe.
Oh, okay.
I'll take a cinder
I
block.
mean, maybe we can rip off one of these.
It'll make me look better probably. So I'll take a cinder block.
Cooper Kupp's at 93.5. Charlie mentioned that one. Debo Samuel's.
I like how he just threw. He's like, I'll just take the over of whatever Cooper Kupp has. Like,
Yeah, he didn't even-
You just write a blank check of the over, and
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp's hitting it.
the success that Cooper's had against the 49ers. Just, you know what? I'll take it. I didn't see any other.
What's the Debo rush receiving?
Combined? Well, Debo's receiving yards, I'm looking on FanDuel right now. His receiving yards are at 57.5, and his rush total is at 29.5. So you're probably looking somewhere a little shy of 90. I don't see a combo on here. I can go to DraftKings, try and check a combo. But Oh, yeah, here we go. No combos there.
Not yet.
So,
They'll come.
You know,
they'll come
I have
out
a-
later in the day.
I have a strange question since I'm new to football and
Sling it our
gambling
way,
in general.
Big Pimpin'.
I just mentioned that I would take all three of those bets, like the money line
Yeah.
and the
did you
spread.
say new to football or new to betting?
He's new to football.
I'm new to football.
It's a
apparently,
it's a running joke on
yeah.
Tom's
Running
show.
Okay,
But
new to football.
New to football, yeah. So taking the money line and the spread for the 49ers, is that even a thing?
No,
like,
you can't do that. You
I
can't.
didn't think so.
you can't
You could
put
take
them-
them separately.
Yeah,
you can't
they're two
parlay them
diff-
together.
They're two different bets, but yeah.
You can parlay like the over and the spread,
But not money line with that.
but you can't like throw the no.
No, you can't parlay them because by saying that
By saying
the
that
49ers cover, you're already implying
That they're going to win.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I thought. So my
You
mistake.
can't-
But
you
I
can't-
would take both those bets. I'll take both those bets, the spread and the over, instead of
Okay. I was going to say, if you're going to say you're going to take the spread and the money line, then you're just saying the same thing.
right, the spread and the over.
Okay, spread and the over. All right. Do we have a YouTube pick? I don't know if we do. Do we have
I think I
I-
commented in it. I wanted someone to talk me off of 49ers.
And
Am
my
I just
dad.
calling are we just calling this
Hang on.
49ers -2?
Hang on, wait.
Uh-oh.
Lure up said no moss, no mouse.
No
Sorry.
moss.
No moss.
No moss.
No moss. No moss. No mouse. Are we just making this 49ers -2
Yes,
and
it's
running
all
the same
right.
way?
We'll
Ride
make it
together,
work.
baby.
All
Ride
right.
it.
All right, we're all doing this again. So for the second show in a row, our guest pick and our chat pick is the same pick.
I felt lost on Thursday, by the way, without being on the show. Just a lost.
I felt lost without you.
Lost sick puppy.
And I didn't even have your picks to give on the show. I didn't realize that you would proactively put them in the
I
Google
put them
Doc.
all in there. That's just
I
me
know.
being a responsible guest.
I put them out on the the one actually that I did get wrong that I talked about on the show. I'll be transparent. Look, I'm not going to sit here and hide away from my life. If you expect me to sit up here and talk about my wins, I can't sit up here and hide my transgressions.
No losses.
Bills and Ravens over. Looked good early. Did not look good late. Couldn't get in the end zone late.
Did you see that there's a meme rolling around or a viral tweet? Someone screenshotted their group chat and said, all right, what's the lock of today? And they said, I think the Lions under is going to hit. and the over hit by like 35 points.
Your Lions, Casey.
My Lions, they disappointed me in their loss, man. I can't believe they gave up 48.
You act surprised that they lost.
They're better than what their record shows.
I can't wait to watch them on Thanksgiving.
Oh, man.
The-
I'm
hang
so
on,
out on the Lions.
Just think about it. Jared Goff is actually doing really well. Like, that offense is actually putting up points. Surprisingly.
Isn't Dan Campbell a defensive guy?
He is, which is why
doing
it's so
great.
disappointing.
He's
But
doing
He's getting the offensive production, but then
He's doing great.
he's doing great.
this is the
Poor Dan
second time
Campbell.
the Seahawks have surprised me this year.
Well, the Seahawks are terrible, too. That's what I'm saying. The Seahawks are downright bad.
But they are worse than the Lions, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
100%. And
Yeah.
I think the Lions just need to learn how to win. But
Agreed. I
The
need to
Li-
learn how to win.
the Lions are the Lions. So
That's what we're trying to do here on Not Too Picky. is Learn how
We
to
are
win.
learning
we
how to
are
win. Learn
how
actively
to
doing
win.
it together.
Yeah, speaking of that here, before we wrap up the show, our Gambling 101 segment is going to kind of get started here in the next couple of weeks with the NBA. That NBA is kind of right around the corner-ish. Hockey, they're playing preseason hockey too. So I have a NBA pro that I'm going to bring on. I have a hockey pro I'm going to bring on. And then college basketball is about a month away. So we're like right on the doorstep of having a million. We already have a million picks on Thursday shows, but we're right on the doorstep of just making it rain on Mondays too. So
Postseason baseball's around the corner as well.
postseason baseball as a gambler is just a ride.
It's fun.
It is a roller coaster. I can't wait for it. Anybody else? I'll leave the door open. Anything anybody else needs to say before we wrap this up? Besides the 49ers?
No.
All right. 49ers -2 in a big way for everybody here tonight. We'll see you back here. Thanks to Charlie Walter for joining us this afternoon on Not Too Picky. Thursday, 2 o'clock, getting you ready for the weekend. Ravens and Bengals Sunday Night Football next week. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Gata.